Ricky Nelson was America's golden teen idol, but fame didn't die with him. It followed his children for life. In 2025, his sons and daughters still live under a legacy built on screaming fans, tragic loss, and music history. While the spotlight faded decades ago, the expectations never did. So are Ricky Nelson's children still carrying the weight of his iconic name, or have they finally stepped out of its shadow? Ricky Nelson's death remains one of the most tragic and unsettling losses in American popular music, cutting short the life of a performer who had grown up in the public eye and fought hard to be taken seriously as an artist in his own right. On December 31st, 1985, Nelson was traveling to a New Year's Eve concert in Dallas, Texas, when the small aircraft carrying him and his entourage crashed near DeKalb, Texas. He was just 45 years old. Nelson had been flying aboard a vintage Douglas DC-3, a propeller aircraft that had once been a workhorse of mid-century aviation but was increasingly outdated by the 1980s. Witnesses later reported seeing flames inside the cabin shortly before the plane went down. The crash occurred only minutes before the aircraft was scheduled to land, offering a cruel sense of proximity to safety that has lingered in public memory ever since. Everyone on board was killed, including Nelson, his fiancée Helen Blair, and members of his band. Investigators determined that the crash was caused by a fire that broke out in the cabin, likely producing thick, toxic smoke that incapacitated those inside. While no single ignition source could be conclusively identified, attention focused on the plane's aging systems and modifications that may not have met modern safety standards. The fire did not destroy the aircraft structurally in the air. Rather, it overwhelmed the occupants, leaving the pilots unable to maintain control. The findings underscored the risks musicians often accepted at the time by relying on older chartered aircraft to meet demanding touring schedules. The shock of Nelson's death was magnified by the arc of his life. He had been famous since childhood, first as a television star on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, then as a teenage idol with a string of chart-topping hits such as Hello Mary Lou, Travelin' Man, and Poor Little Fool. Yet Nelson spent much of his adult career pushing against the constraints of his early image, embracing country rock and insisting on artistic independence even when it cost him mainstream popularity. By the 1980s, he had earned renewed respect as a live performer and elder statesman of early rock and roll. Following Ricky Nelson's death, fans shifted their attention to his children. Let's take a look at their lives afterward. Tracy Christine Nelson. As the eldest child of teen idol and rock and roll pioneer Ricky Nelson and actress-painter Kristen Harmon, Tracy grew up inside a multi-generational Hollywood dynasty that traced back to the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. From an early age, creativity was not merely encouraged, it was part of her daily environment. Tracy's childhood unfolded in front of cameras and stages, yet she managed to develop her own identity within a famous family. She began appearing on television as a child, learning the rhythms of acting long before most performers set foot on a professional set. Unlike many child actors, Tracy transitioned steadily into adult roles, building a career defined not by celebrity shortcuts, but by discipline, range, and longevity. Her most widely recognized role came in the late 1980s and early 1990s when she starred as Sister Stephanie Oskowski on Father Dowling Mysteries. The role showcased her ability to balance warmth, intelligence, humor, and emotional depth, qualities that became hallmarks of her screen presence. The series gave Tracy long-term visibility and established her as a reliable, character-driven actress rather than a fleeting television star. Across decades, Tracy appeared in numerous television series, made for TV movies and films, often stepping into layered supporting roles that demanded nuance rather than spectacle. She became known among casting directors and audiences alike for her versatility, equally capable of drama, gentle comedy, and grounded realism. While she never chased tabloid fame, her work ethic and consistency earned her lasting respect within the industry. Beyond acting, Tracy is also an accomplished dancer, a skill she cultivated seriously rather than casually. Dance provided her with another expressive outlet and deepened her physical understanding of performance. Movement, timing, and emotional storytelling through the body informed her acting style, lending her performances a quiet confidence and natural flow. In addition to performing, she has explored writing and other creative projects, continuing the artistic tradition of her family while making it distinctly her own. Tracy's personal life reflects the same depth and resilience seen in her career. She is a devoted mother of 2 children, and in recent years she has shared glimpses of her family life through social media. Rather than using platforms for self-promotion, Tracy often highlights moments of pride, humor, and gratitude, particularly celebrating her children's creativity. She has spoken warmly about her son's musical interests, a subtle but meaningful continuation of the Nelson family's musical legacy. Perhaps the most defining aspect of Tracy Nelson's public story is her extraordinary strength in the face of serious illness. Over the course of her life, she has battled Hodgkin's disease, thyroid cancer, and later breast cancer. Each diagnosis brought its own physical and emotional toll, yet Tracy approached these challenges with openness, honesty, and resolve. She has spoken candidly about treatment, recovery, fear, and survival, becoming an unintentional but powerful source of encouragement for others facing similar battles. Rather than allowing illness to define her, Tracy transformed adversity into perspective. Her survivorship became part of her identity, not as a limitation, but as proof of endurance. Friends, fans, and fellow survivors often describe her as grounded, compassionate, and quietly optimistic. She continues to engage with life fully, valuing family, creativity, and health in ways that reflect hard-earned wisdom. Gunnar Eric Nelson. From the moment he entered the world alongside his twin brother Matthew, Gunnar was surrounded by music, performance, and an artistic lineage that stretched back generations. Raised in a household shaped by melody, harmony, and showmanship. Gunnar's path toward a life in music felt both natural and inevitable, yet his career would ultimately prove that legacy alone was not enough. Talent, dedication, and evolution were essential. Growing up, Gunnar absorbed the musical atmosphere that defined the Nelson family. His father's influence was profound, not only in sound, but in discipline and professionalism. Music was treated as a craft, something to be respected and continuously refined. Alongside Matthew, Gunnar gravitated toward rock music, developing a strong bond with his brother that extended far beyond family ties and into creative partnership. Their shared vision and complementary talents became the foundation for what would soon become a major commercial breakthrough. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Gunnar and Matthew burst onto the national music scene as the rock duo Nelson. Their debut album, After the Rain, became a defining release of the era, capturing the polished yet emotional sound that resonated with audiences worldwide. The album produced multiple hit singles, most notably the chart-topping title track, which propelled the twins into instant stardom. With their long blonde hair, tight harmonies, and radio-friendly rock sound, Nelson quickly became one of the most recognizable acts of the time. For Gunnar, the success of After the Rain represented more than fame. It was validation. The duo was often compared to their father, a comparison they neither avoided nor relied upon. Instead, Gunnar and Matthew worked to establish their own musical identity while honoring the foundation that inspired them. Touring extensively, appearing on television, and selling millions of records, Gunnar experienced the intense pace and pressures of mainstream success at a relatively young age. As musical trends shifted in the years that followed, Gunnar adapted rather than retreated. While the height of commercial chart dominance eventually passed, his commitment to music never wavered. He continued writing, performing, and evolving as an artist, embracing a more authentic, roots-driven approach to rock that aligned with his personal growth. Rather than chasing trends, Gunnar focused on substance, musicianship, and live connection with audiences. In recent years, Gunnar has remained actively involved in music, frequently touring with Matthew in performances that celebrate both their own catalog and their father's enduring influence. These shows often go beyond standard concerts, incorporating multimedia elements that highlight Ricky Nelson's work and the broader Nelson family story. Through archival footage, storytelling, and live renditions, Gunnar helps transform performances into immersive experiences that bridge generations of fans. These tribute-driven concerts reflect Gunnar's deep respect for legacy, not as nostalgia, but as living history. He has spoken openly about the responsibility and privilege of carrying his father's musical spirit forward, ensuring that Ricky Nelson's contributions continue to reach new audiences. At the same time, Gunnar remains committed to presenting himself as a contemporary artist, grounded in the present while honoring the past. Outside of music, Gunnar's personal life reflects balance and maturity. He is married and shares his life with his wife, Lila, embracing an active role in raising her 3 daughters. Family life is not treated as secondary to his career, but as an essential part of who he is. Gunnar often speaks about the importance of presence, stability, and emotional connection, values shaped by both his upbringing and life experience. Now in his mid-50s, Gunnar remains deeply connected to his fan base. Through social media and live events, he regularly engages with longtime supporters as well as newer listeners discovering Nelson's music for the first time. His reflections often center on gratitude toward fans, family, and the enduring power of music to connect people across time. Rather than resting on past achievements, Gunnar views his career as an ongoing journey, one that continues to evolve with each performance. Matthew Gray Nelson. From an early age, Matthew gravitated toward melody and structure. While the twins shared similar influences and ambitions, Matthew's musical instincts leaned strongly toward composition and vocal arrangement. The brothers' ability to blend their voices with precision and emotion became one of Nelson's defining traits, setting them apart in an era crowded with rock acts. Their harmonies carried echoes of classic pop and rock traditions while remaining firmly rooted in their own sound. The breakthrough came in the early 1990s with the release of After the Rain, Nelson's debut album. The record achieved platinum status, propelled by hit singles that dominated radio airplay and music television. Matthew's contributions as a songwriter and vocalist were central to the album's success. His sense of melody and lyrical clarity helped create songs that felt both polished and emotionally accessible, allowing Nelson to reach a wide audience almost overnight. As fame accelerated, Matthew and Gunnar found themselves navigating the pressures of commercial success while managing constant comparisons to their father. Rather than distancing themselves from Ricky Nelson's influence, Matthew embraced it with respect. He viewed the connection as an opportunity to build upon a legacy rather than replicate it. This balance, honoring the past without being confined by it, became a guiding principle throughout his career. When musical trends shifted later in the decade, Matthew continued forward with purpose. Instead of chasing fleeting popularity, he focused on craft, authenticity, and live musicianship. Alongside Gunnar, he remained active in writing, recording, and touring, proving that Nelson was more than a momentary success story. Their performances evolved, emphasizing musical depth, storytelling, and genuine connection with audiences. In recent years, Matthew has played a key role in tribute-based performances that celebrate Ricky Nelson's music. These shows often blend Nelson's own catalog with carefully curated renditions of their father's work, creating a bridge between generations. Through multimedia elements, live storytelling, and musical reinterpretation, Matthew helps present Ricky Nelson's legacy not as nostalgia, but as a living, breathing influence on contemporary rock. Despite his deep ties to music history, Matthew remains firmly grounded in the present. He continues to perform and record with Nelson, ensuring that both classic songs and newer material remain part of the band's evolving identity. For Matthew, music is not a finished chapter, but an ongoing dialogue, one shaped by experience, family, and time. Offstage, Matthew's life reflects a quieter but equally meaningful rhythm. He is a devoted husband to Carrie Ahlstrom and a proud father to their son, Ozzy. Fatherhood has become a central part of his identity, and he often shares glimpses of everyday family moments through social media. Whether attending events, enjoying time at home, or encouraging his son's interest in music, Matthew approaches family life with warmth and presence. Music, however, remains deeply woven into his personal world. Matthew frequently highlights how songwriting, listening, and performing continue to shape his daily life. For him, music is both profession and passion, something to be shared not only with audiences but with family as well. His posts often reflect gratitude, humor, and an appreciation for life's simple moments, offering fans a more intimate view beyond the stage lights. Today, Matthew Gray Nelson stands as a musician who has successfully bridged past and present. He honors one of rock history's most beloved legacies while continuing to create, perform, and connect in his own voice. Through decades of change in the music industry, Matthew has remained consistent in his dedication to authenticity, family, and artistic integrity. More than a former chart topper, Matthew represents continuity, proof that harmony, when rooted in sincerity and craft, can endure far beyond any single era. As long as Nelson continues to perform, Matthew Gray Nelson remains at its heart, blending memory and modernity into a sound that still resonates with audiences who recognize not just the name, but the spirit behind it. Sam Hilliard Nelson. Arriving several years after his older siblings, Tracy, Gunnar, and Matthew, Sam grew up in the long shadow of a powerful legacy shaped by television history, rock and roll fame, and public tragedy. While his name may be less familiar to mainstream audiences, Sam's life reflects a thoughtful, behind-the-scenes commitment to creativity and preservation rather than celebrity. Unlike his siblings, whose early lives unfolded more directly in the public eye, Sam experienced a more complicated and private upbringing. Due to family circumstances, he spent part of his youth living with his maternal grandparents, an experience that profoundly shaped his perspective. This period away from the constant spotlight of the Nelson name offered him stability and a chance to develop a more introspective sense of self. It also allowed Sam to observe the entertainment world from a distance, absorbing its influence without being fully consumed by it. As he matured, Sam gravitated toward both the emotional and intellectual sides of storytelling. He pursued higher education with a focus on psychology and film, an uncommon but revealing combination. Psychology deepened his understanding of human behavior and emotional complexity, while film provided a visual and narrative outlet for those insights. Together, these studies reflected Sam's desire to explore not just performance, but meaning, why stories resonate, and how art shapes identity. Music, however, remained a powerful thread connecting Sam to his family's roots. He became actively involved in the music business as a musician, stepping into creative roles that echoed his father's and brother's paths while remaining distinctly his own. Sam served as lead vocalist for the band H is Orange, contributing his voice and vision to a project that emphasized expression over commercial spotlight. His involvement in the band demonstrated a commitment to authenticity, favoring artistic integrity over mass exposure. Through music, Sam found a way to participate in the Nelson artistic tradition without replicating it. Rather than leaning heavily on his surname, he focused on collaboration, experimentation, and the craft itself. This approach mirrored his broader life philosophy: engage deeply, create sincerely, and allow recognition to follow naturally, if at all. Beyond performance, Sam has taken on an important and often understated role as a steward of the Nelson family legacy. He has been involved in work connected to preserving and managing elements of the family's historic contributions to American entertainment, including aspects related to the adventures of Ozzy and Harriet. This iconic television series not only launched Ricky Nelson's career, but also shaped the public image of the Nelson family for generations. Sam's involvement in legacy-related work reflects a sense of responsibility rather than obligation. He understands that the Nelson name carries cultural weight, and he has chosen to help ensure that its history is preserved accurately and respectfully. This behind-the-scenes effort, organizing, managing, and safeguarding family archives and intellectual property, has become an essential part of how the Nelson story continues to be told. Despite his quieter public presence, Sam remains closely connected to his family. He maintains strong relationships with his brothers and sister, sharing a collective understanding of both the privileges and burdens that come with their heritage. Together, the siblings represent different expressions of the same creative lineage, some in front of the stage lights, others working in the background to support and sustain the legacy. What do you think about Ricky Nelson's children? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.